Hello beautiful friends, my name is Michelle Francesca, Inspiration for Life, and in this video I'm going to share some prophetic intuitive insights for the end of April and May 2022. This is all about being ready for liftoff, traveling well with the correct baggage. What came through to share with you is quite interesting and all works beautifully together, including a dream that I feel is very pertinent to share with you. Not often that I will share a dream, but I do believe that I need to share this one. In the dream, it was the day to go to the airport. I was careful to think through what time we would need to leave so that I would be at the airport on time. And I really believe that speaks to the intense level of preparation that I and so many of us have been putting in to be prepared for an elevation, an ascension, a rising into a higher consciousness. So we've been preparing to leave so that we can be at the airport on time. When I arrived at the airport in this dream, I went to wait in the waiting area with the other passengers on my flight. And someone who provided food, a food service provider, came over to my passenger group. They weren't a flight attendant. They weren't even dressed anything to do with the airline. Were more in sort of food service type clothing and uniform. But someone who provided food came over to my passenger group and said that our flight was canceled and that we would not be able to fly out. And she did this very sweetly. She had a smile on her face and she just said, "No, your flight's canceled. You won't be able to go." And the people around me started expressing their sadness or their frustration. And they started accepting that this was really the case. And because they accepted that this was the case, it actually became true for them in a concrete way, which I'm going to return to this point in just a moment. But I found myself separating from the group as if a fog came down between myself and the others who were now mumbling and grumbling, "Oh no, we can't fly," and "Oh goodness, oh this airline always does this," and getting into that whole thing. And there was this separation because I did not believe that the food provider, I didn't believe that was true. I didn't believe that it wasn't possible to fly on this flight. I thought to myself, she's not even a flight attendant. I don't believe it. And I hastened toward another area to take the flight. My ticket was stamped and I was accepted into the prepare to leave area. There was one problem. I needed to determine what luggage was mine. It was kind of backwards to the normal flight procedure. In this dream, I had to choose the correct luggage. I had to choose my luggage, the luggage that was correct for me, from the baggage claim area to take it onto the flight. So it was kind of backwards. Now there were many bags and it was kind of dim and dark in the dream, and I couldn't find my baggage with ease. There were some suitcases that looked like mine. They were sort of familiar to me, but it really wasn't clear. But it was getting very close to the flight departure. And I knew that I was going to have to run to the boarding area, pick some bags quickly and get on with it, get to the boarding area. So I grabbed some things that looked vaguely familiar, but there wasn't that 100% knowing that they were the right bags to take with me. When I got to the boarding area, it became clear that the baggage I had with me wasn't my own. They weren't the bags that I should take with me. And I was told, "You cannot board the flight with those bags. You don't have the correct baggage." And I had what felt like just seconds to run all the way back to the baggage area, claim the correct bags, and release the baggage that wasn't mine. And then I woke up. Now I feel this dream is very specific, intuitive, possibly prophetic for this time. And I believe this dream carries several messages. And the first one is this: not everything we hear needs to be believed. Not everything that we've ever heard needs to be believed. Because the more we believe something, the more it manifests as truth, the more it manifests as a reality in our world. And the flight, which I believe represents an ascension, an elevation, an arising into a higher consciousness, a higher vibration, it was absolutely possible. But the people around me chose to believe the restrictions that were imposed upon them, even from questionable sources. And because of that, they bought into that, and that became their reality. And they missed out on the forward movement, the upward call of the elevation or ascension that could be theirs. So the first message is, be very careful what you buy into with your beliefs. Number 2, get really clear about what baggage is not yours to carry into the future. Do not attempt to take it with you. Do not attempt to just take for granted that the bags that you've carried before, the weights that you've bared before, the things that you've normally carried with you might not be right for you to carry into that elevated place, into the elevated place that you now have the opportunity to go. You know, I think it's very interesting to note that there was something familiar about the bags. So I guess I'll take these. And really what we need to be so careful about right now is that we're choosing energetically, that we're choosing intuitively, not just because something is familiar. And I really want to say also that if something's not a resounding yes, it's probably a no. If it's like, nah, I'm not quite, well, but it's familiar. Okay, I'll grab that one and take it. No, you may find that you have to go back, that you have to have actually a delay, or at least a lot of stress running around trying to dismantle relationships that we didn't dismantle, that you didn't dismantle, I didn't dismantle at this opportune time when there's a letting go period. And what could this baggage be going into the future that's not really ours to carry? It could be gossip. It could be hearsay. It could be a toxic relationship. It could be not having that conversation that you know you need to have. It could be negative beliefs and cycles. It could be bad habits. It could be narratives for your own life that are no longer applicable for the person that you have become. It could be responsibility for things that are not yours to be responsible for. It could be overextended finances, obsolete goals, outdated work situations, and it could be unforgiveness or bitterness or relationship blockages or doctrines that just don't sit right anymore in your gut. It could be limiting beliefs. It could be all kinds of things, but we do, I believe, need to be very clear right now about what baggage is not ours to carry with us into the new season. And number 3, to get very clear about what we do need to carry with us. Maybe we're lightening our load a little bit. Maybe we're taking some rocks out of the backpack that just have old dates on them, old faces, relationship faces, familiarity, but they're simply weighing us down, and we need to remove them from our backpack so that we can travel light going into the future with just exactly the right things that we need. And I think about this beautiful scripture that's such an encouragement. Lay aside every weight and the sin, which means misidentity, the narratives, the stories that so easily beset us and slow us down. Let's lay them aside so that we can run with endurance the beautiful road, the walkway that is laid out before us. The Plutonian wrecking ball, as I call it, is obliterating a lot of things in our lives right now. What worked before might not work now. People that we have walked with up until now, it might be time for a fork in the road. We have to determine, am I taking this with me just because it's a little bit familiar? I think it's mine. Or are we really clear about what we're carrying with us into this beautiful elevation journey? Our vibrations have risen, the rhythms of our souls may have softened, and our bodies know when we are out of alignment. We know it in our gut. And that is leading me to the next point that I want to share. And I heard these words, a bitter taste. A bitter taste. Have you ever had a bitter taste in your mouth? And a bitter taste can originate actually in our gut. So when we know in our gut that something's not quite right, if we don't heal the root, we may end up with a bitter taste. At the gut level, if we're misaligned or in turmoil, we might find that we are speaking things that we don't want to say, we're committing to things that we don't want to commit to, and we may be even speaking out of fear and stress and misalignment and creating a whole bunch of havoc. So a bitter taste starts in the gut, and a bitter taste in the mouth can also be heartburn. Has your heart been burned? Has it been buried, stifled, fear-filled? Has something happened to you that's burned your heart or hurt your heart, that has left you with some venom or a sense of wanting retaliation in your heart, and that's causing actually a bitter taste in your mouth, coming up with words out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Are you finding yourself speaking words that are bitter words, even if they're just in your thoughts? We need to go to the root. We need to prioritize healing the gut space, healing the true heart space. And so I want to encourage you. I know that's difficult sometimes to allow for that cleansing, but we don't always have to know exactly how to do that. If there's been some damage in a relationship and you don't quite know what to do, simply say, Spirit of God, I don't know what to do with this twisty feeling in my gut that's causing a bitterness in my heart and a bitter taste in my mouth, but I'd like your help. Help me to come to a clearer place where I can feast on goodness and sweetness, and that there will be the sweetness of honey on my lips once again. The next word was this, orange train. Wow, that's kind of weird. I've not heard a word like that before. And I have to tell you, I was a little bit baffled. Orange train? What could this mean? But I began to understand that this train, this mode of transport, was not so much a train from here to there, a means to an end only. It wasn't just a place to go, or choosing a mode of transport or a platform to go from. Let me get to here, and just as long as I get to here and then I get on this train, then everything's going to be okay. The orange was key. It was about traveling in an orange kind of way. And orange, the color orange, is associated with joy, warmth, sunshine, enthusiasm, determination, stimulation, happiness, fun, freedom, balance, sexuality, that's that raw life force energy, expression and fascination and wonder. So the message is travel with these qualities, these emotions, and the journey and the destination will always be satisfying. Lastly, river walk. I heard the word river walk, and the message with that is, let your walk, your journey, be like a river ride, flowing downstream, buoyed up by living waters. Like being in that one of those tubes on the lazy river. Lazy has gotten a bit of a bad rap in westernized society. We feel so guilty if we're lazy. But maybe what we should say is it's a resting river. Maybe it's about laying back in the everlasting arms and letting the currents of God and the things that eye has not seen and ear heard, nor has entered into our hearts or risen up in our hearts, what God has planned for us. We don't know the way to go. But the Spirit of God knows how to guide us around the rocks in just the right way. And maybe just exactly the right thing to do is not to work and to slog, but to not try and do this something new in an old way, but in fact actually to rest in those everlasting arms and let the Spirit of God guide us through and follow the current, follow the strong freedom current, the wonder current, the joy current, the creativity current that is running through our heart center. And I also heard river walk in a different kind of way as well. Isaiah 43:2. When you walk through the waters, I will be with you. They will not overflow you. You will not drown. Your troubles will not overwhelm you. That may be for someone today who feels like they are drowning, feels like that the troubles of their life are overwhelming to them. But do you know that we are raised with Christ? We're seated with Christ in heavenly realms, happiness realms. We're seated in the place of miracles. We are in that elevated place. That's our true spiritual placement and positioning. We're like a cork whose natural tendency is not to be kept under the water. It's to bob up to the surface. And sometimes when a cork is under the water, it feels like it's drowning and the cork is saying, help me, I want to go back to being on top of the surface of the water and letting the current bob me along. The cork might say, what do I need to do to get back to that place of resting on the waters, on the living waters? And the cork doesn't need to do anything. All that needs to happen is the resistance that's holding the cork down needs to be released. And that brings us full circle to letting go of whatever baggage it is. Sometimes we see things from a backwards perspective and we have to do something, we struggle with something, and all the time you're struggling with something, that you're still holding it. The key is displacement. The key is releasing the struggle, being the cork that is allowed to bob back up into its natural state of well-being, riding on the surface of the waters. So river walk, orange train, traveling with those beautiful qualities, and that bitter taste becoming sweet. And I want to encourage you again, really important, I think, at this time. Don't believe everything that you hear. You've come a long way. You've done the work. You've put the work in to prepare to be at the liftoff station at the right time. And all that could hold you back right now is still being wrapped up in the old baggage that just wants to weigh you down and prevent you from running your race with endurance and joy. So let it go. Choose carefully. Release the things that no longer belong. And I know that we're all going to go into a beautiful new arising and ascension together in the coming months ahead. Well, if you are new to this channel, I really want to encourage you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will get notifications of all the videos that I do. I haven't been on for a little while because I've been traveling, but I'm so glad to be back. And reach out to me at michellefrancesca.com for coaching and inspiration, broadcasts, books and resources. I look forward to seeing you very soon.